We are live.
We're live already.
We're live.
All right. We didn't do any music or anything, man. I thought you were in charge of this thing.
Oh.
You failed.
What's going on?
Oh, wait, we're still live.
We're live.
So to start it off, ultimately, so everybody knows, as they start to listen to this, is we are going to make this a more consistent podcast. Once a week, we will do a podcast. It's going to be Blake and I, and potentially somebody else every week. And we're going to talk crypto stuff, just not anything in particular, just different things that are happening in the ecosystem or ecosphere that we're associated with, and talk about all those things that we want to hear about. And there's lots of stuff that we haven't talked about in a while. So
yeah, it's been a crazy month.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean,
a crazy year.
And I've been on vacation for like half the month, it seems like. And then we have, there's just tons of stuff, man, tons of stuff. But I want to jump into the music launch, Gala's music launch, because, it just happened.
Yeah.
Happened yesterday. And I think some of the stuff that I really want to touch on is the fact that Gala, as it has released stuff, much like any new company, anything, especially in the tech field, like when they launch stuff, there's always little hiccups. There's always little, I mean, hell, you get Apex just had an update just the other day. I was playing Apex, right? And they've been around forever. They do an update. Guess what? They have to shut it down and patch some shit and fix some stuff and go with it. And honestly, I'm impressed so far with the way the music stuff looks and feels and interacts. We'll get into some negative stuff here and there because there's always a little bit of negative, but I'm messing around with it as you get into it. It's really pretty intuitive for most people. Myself, I kind of got I'm out of it today. I couldn't even figure out how to hit unmute on the freaking laptop this morning. So I was like, what's happening? I can't hit Blake. so anyways, and then I had some trouble with the music notes because I was adding
tracks.
I was adding tracks, right? And so I was coming down in and I would look at my tracks, trying to add the tracks to it. And you see it'll be like, oh, Dog Beat 7. I was like, well, it doesn't have a little box next to it. But I wasn't looking over at the little arrow, right? So if you click the arrow, they come up, you can add an instance and add those to the track. So that's what I was doing before we got into this, just trying to get all my tracks on there from. But I let's go to the front page. It's clean.
It is clean.
It looks clean. Everything so far is running fairly smoothly.
I think I will say, like someone in our Discord was saying this earlier. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if it was Doc or who it was, but in terms of what Gala has put out, I do think this is probably the cleanest UI and the overall just like most crisp interface like we've been given from them so far.
For sure. I agree 100% in that same thing so far. And we're new. And, everybody's going to, we'll talk about it too as we go through. I want to look at the page. I haven't even got to dive in as much as I've wanted to in the last 24 hours. Well, since 3:00 yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like the last 12, 16 hours, whatever. We'll talk about a few other things in it too, but coming in, we can go into, you can see my collection, my access pools. I don't know what this is. No artists in your access pool. Build your rewards and unlock exclusive fan experiences by holding Gala music tokens against an artist. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is what they were talking about.
Yeah, I was like, where you kind of put it almost as like a collateral, it seemed like, against your owned assets, and then that gives you, the ability to have those further interactions with the artist itself.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Kind of like staking to be a part of the artist community. Yeah.
No. It's not staking. You're holding.
Holding.
Not staking. You're just holding. You're holding tokens against, or whatever the hell they call it.
Hold your beams against artists.
They need to phrase that differently though. Holding Gala music tokens against artists, like it should be something complete. Like I'm holding it against them. It's a little negative. I don't like that. But that's kind of cool. The concept of that, I think depending on what you're going to get some stuff from the artist. Does the artist get anything depending on what they on their end is with the tokens held for that artist?
I would assume so.
You are cool. Let's look at this. So when you hold 100 or more beams against this artist, holding benefits, exclusive Discord access and artist content, okay, entering into monthly giveaway. When you go to the next level is 500, you get pre-sale access and a 5% discount. In level 3, which is 1,000 beams, you get pre-sale access, 5% and additional exclusive rewards, which aren't given here. So artist rewards coming soon. So, and it'll say top 5 fans. That's kind of cool. You can see who.
Yeah, that is cool actually. I mean, because when you think about it, if there is one specific artist you are all about, like if J. Cole was on Gala Music, I would probably put a bunch of beams against it because I'd want access to all of his stuff early because it's like my favorite artist. And so that is a cool way of, when you look at the purpose of Gala Music, it is to create a new type of experience for the artist and the individual listening. And so that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, I like that. That's an interesting total rewards balance. The whole beams thing, I'm not a huge fan. I'm wondering if they're going to keep them though for this specific reason, and you're just going to get. I know. I think they said it's going to transfer into the G Music token.
Yeah, well, it's the beams are slightly confusing to me too because they talk about in April, I guess you'll be able to.
No, April is going to be when you're supposed to bridge back out.
Out of
the Geary chain. So, which still is called Geary chain. I won't get into that stuff yet. Let's just focus on music, Nate. Because I'm excited about it. And I'm not, there's good stuff that I see here. There's a whole lot of back end things that I've been hearing for Gala Music, but so my collection obviously is probably pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to show I own 47 tracks. Artists, collectibles, bridge my tracks, which I wasn't able to do that through here when I was bridging them. I had to go to the Gala Games, the actual the Gala Games site. I couldn't bridge it from here, but they might have changed that because I will say this. Yesterday when I was bridging, I could turn off my 2FA and then, do it a lot faster. And I did it under, I couldn't do it under the Gala Music. I had to do it under the Gala Games one. And it would do it for both. Well, this morning when I was going back in to do it again, because I turned it back on when I was done. When I came back, it was, I had to do it under music. I had to turn it off under music. I couldn't turn it off on the other one. So that was interesting. So they're making changes as we move along here. So, and then we have player nodes. So this just shows your nodes, maybe. Oh, there we go. It's a little slow, or maybe my computer's a little slow. Maybe I'm a little slow.
I think that's what it is.
Hey, I fully admit I'm a little slow this morning. Excuse my friend, he's a little slow.
He's a little slow.
Yeah, so so I had to activate each one. So you had to go in and activate it. You had to use your 2FA and your transfer code to activate them all. And you'll see the little green lights, the little Wi-Fi signal. They were red before, so kind of nice. It shows 35 of 45 are hosted, which is good. I like it. And then if you want to go into that node, you select a node 10 out of 10. It'll show you what those 10 tracks are. The other interesting one is, so to add a new slot. So if you have a boatload, each slot costs you 150 beams. And so I don't know, is it a one-time buy? I don't know. That's something I'd have to find out. Or is this a monthly thing like they were talking about with pods with spider tanks?
Yeah, is it a persistent slot?
Correct. Yeah, you have to get it every time. So we don't know what rewards are because it's just been running for, again, less than 24 hours. So we'll start to see what stuff is there. That gets me to, so So that's really it at that point in time. You can now. Is there a player? There's a player.
Yeah, there's a player. Because I even was able to, without a node or without owning a track, I was able to go in this morning and listen.
Sweet. Okay. That was my next next question.
It is a limited free trial, is what it said when I signed up for it. But I didn't see the information on what that limited trial looks like. Like, is that going to end up being a monthly gala cost? Is that going to be, do you have to own one track at least to become able to listen to others? That's some more digging I need to do. But I was able to get in and listen to some Snoop this morning.
Yeah, in all honesty, I haven't been keeping up with the artists that they've been released. I know they've been doing a ton this month with music and some artists and stuff like that. The concept of music and the putting it on the blockchain, allowing to cut out the middleman, own your tracks, give more to the actual artist, and have them have a little more say within everything is great. But it's new, so it's going to take a long time for a lot of this stuff to kind of play out, regardless of the way it goes, right?
Yeah, it's when you think about merging away from something like a Spotify or an Apple Music or Tidal or whatever it may be, we kind of talked about this a little while ago with Gala Film too, where until they have the collection behind, like until they have the massive amount of tracks and stuff, I mean, I'll use Gala Music probably here and there to listen to certain things, but I mean, it doesn't have my favorite artists on it. It doesn't have the ability for me to make playlists and share those playlists with friends and all these other things that these other services do offer. So
yeah,
it will just take some time until they're really able to start pulling market share.
There's so many different problems that come into play here. One is I only listen to music on my phone, whether it's through my headphones or in my truck, whatever. I rarely listen to music through my computer.
Yeah,
I have it other ways. So, and I'm not that far out of the realm. So, are they going to have an app? The other question is, am I going to be able to download music? Because I like to have music when I'm away from
on a flight.
On a flight, or when I'm out backpacking. Sometimes I'll pull a little speaker out and have some music it's playing. So is that going to be there? It's such a monumental task to overcome, that the music side, and you talked about it, you got to overcome Spotify and every other Apple Music, all these other platforms that already have the artists on there. And so without Gala having something that is special and different, that's going to attract people, it's just going to kind of be this really slow grind into the future of who's going to come on and put the tracks on here. They have to revolutionize to make it so people are going to really want to break a hold of that. So, and right now it's just it looks good, but it's not where it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years.
No.
There's going to be differences that are going to be made there. So, but going back to the launch of it, I was pleasantly surprised so far. It went as smooth as I would say any launch so far has gone. It's fine. It's great. There's little issues here and there that need to be, ironed out. I'm curious to see what the earnings are going to be, because when I was looking at the prices, and again, I haven't looked at the prices of these tracks in a long time. So what do you got? 24.22. So do you believe Alexander Nate? It's got a good last name. So I'm not gonna do math in my head because I can.
Gala's 4 cents right now, or 4.1 cents.
So $96. We'll just call it $100, right? So $100 for a track. It's a lot. Like, you're not going to see that purchase of $100 of a track in the mainstream.
I spend $100 a year on Spotify.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people are not going to pay $100 a track unless, and they don't want to hear this, there's a return on my investment now, or I really like that artist, right? If I'm just like, boom, I want to own this just because I'm a part of it. And there's going to be a lot of that that's there, but that's a very small niche amount of people that are going to do that. One, they have to really love the artist. Two, they have to understand blockchain, Web3, that whole ecosystem that's there. So it's really It's really niche. Like it's not just it's niche. Like this is so small for somebody to pay $100 per track, right? So next bull run though, things get frothy if Gala's still around, which I think it will be. You're gonna have a lot of people that'll potentially just buy it because they've got extra Gala sitting in there. That's if Gala goes to $1, right? Okay, well this is, and it stays relative, and it doesn't stay at 2,400 Gala. They peg it to the US dollar because ain't nobody gonna pay $2,400 for a track unless unless the ROI is there.
Yeah,
return on investment. They don't want to hear it, but nobody is gonna buy $100 track. Like I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people are gonna buy $100 track unless that return is there. So,
well, even back when I used to buy music, I mean, it was like $22 for an album. Like and that was like a big purchase.
I was talking about that last night. I was like, I buy a whole album for, $20. Actually, I'm so old. I'd have friends where I would buy it, and then we would clone it, right? Or we
burn
would
it onto CDs.
No, bro, I'm before CDs. I cassette tape. You had a pencil with an eraser, so you can rewind it. No, but CDs too. So interesting is they have it in USD here. I might have to try and buy one and see $100. I could have just gone.
So you get a discount buying it in Gala.
You get a discount buying in Gala right now, 4% discount.
But I wonder what the gas fee looks like.
$1 million. I don't know how much I pay. I even want to look. I just wanted to do I have the Black Harp account, which I haven't bridged anything over there. I wanted to see how everything worked. I just did it on my personal account, threw that stuff over, see what's happening. I didn't even want to know what the gas fees were. Every time it's been high again, $3 to $5. I mean, granted, that's not $100 in ETH gas fees, but I mean, when you're bridging shit over, they need to make it a little bit easier on the people that are trying to do that. But regardless, I digress. So apparently you can buy somehow. How would I buy this? Purchase. Bam. But it's only in Gala.
Oh, so you can. So it will just. It'll.
Here we go.
Credit card. Oh.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay. I like it. Great. I mean that advances the adoption a little bit. That's nice that they have that there. I am not going to buy this right now for $100 because one, I don't want to enter my credit card in on stream, but maybe I will later off stream. See what it looks like.
Yeah.
Know how it works.
Yeah.
That's cool.
One other thing I saw in their announcements yesterday. So as I understand this correct, that they are going to convert decibels into beams.
So that's where my decibels are at, right? Which I think seem a little bit low. I've been running, I can't remember what my mega whatever sound system was. I have 1,930 beams, but I've been running 6 nodes for however many months. Yeah. So I don't know what that looks like. I haven't looked at it. I know they gave a conversion somewhere
they did
in the Discord, but I'm not 100% sure what that is. But that is. They already converted your decibels, so your decibels went to the sound systems, right? So you get a decibel and they got turned into sound systems, which then gets turned into beams, which are usable on the platform. And apparently the beams are going to be able to be transferred into Gala music at a point in time. My assumption is that this is like the beams are like the in-game gems, essentially, right? That you can then port them out into a cryptocurrency, which would be the Gala music currency. Just a guess, but who knows?
Which is in itself another kind of issue that they're introducing another token now.
It's like one token to the next token and to the next token. It's just like, bros, like why did they
consistency, right? I mean, there's such a lack of, and this isn't just with Gala. We're seeing this across a plethora of these companies out there that there's such little accountability.
Well, it comes down to like, to give Gala some, a little bit of leeway here is there is so many different, regulations or people trying to figure out what the regulations are going to be. And you have you have council that's telling you one thing, you want to do another thing. There's a lot of different paths to go down that lead us to these points. And as we go further and further and more things come out, it's like, well, I guess we really can't do this. Like Gala Music is now incorporated out of, is it Austria or Switzerland?
Switzerland. Switzerland.
And apparently it's not associated with Gala at all in the event that
It's labeled as security.
Well, I know that's what they're trying to get around. It's interesting though that you have to buy the nodes through Gala Games or Gala the company, whatever they are. Are they Gala Games? Is that their company name?
Yeah, that's my assumption. Their core website is.
Yeah, so you have to buy the nodes through them, but everything that happens on Gala Music is separate from Gala. So they're trying to separate out into different ecosystem or different factions. So if one goes down, then something else doesn't happen, which doesn't make me very excited. I know they're doing that to make sure that things stay cleaner, or you can separate them out a little bit, but it doesn't give me the most confidence when it comes down to one, what our country in the US is doing, but two, also that they know what they're doing. But I don't blame them, like, because nobody really does. Like, I guess Jay Powell, is it Jay Powell?
Yeah.
No. Head of the SEC. What's his name? Gensler.
Oh, yeah.
He's going. Congress, I guess, is gonna grill him. That'll be interesting to see what actually happens. I think it's next week.
Well, it needs to be a commodity.
Well, the CFTC just came out and said it's a commodity. So,
yeah.
In the lawsuit against
Ripple.
No, Binance. So CFTC.
Oh, yes.
SEC has their lawsuit against Ripple. CFTC came out, and I think really it seems like a race to who can be the one in charge. Because we have CFTC, the SEC, that's probably the FDA is probably trying to get in charge of them. Who knows? But yeah, what does Jay Soto say? The website looks nice. Do they have like a monthly subscription to listen to the music without?
So that's where when I first signed up, it gave me. Granted, you could either sign up or log in with your existing Gala account. I went through the sign up process just to see what that looked like, and it was like, oh, we already see that you have an account. Just log in with your Gala account. But there was a limited free trial, is what it said. Actually, let me just see.
Yeah, I'm looking through.
Let me show that on my side because I might be able to. If I'm logged out.
I'm gonna have to go through their site now. See, so they kind of sucked me in now because I kind of want to see who they have on here for musicians, because I haven't been paying attention to it because there's so much. There's just so much out there to try and pay attention to. So, unmissable experiences, exclusive merchandise with your favorite artists. That's what we're talking about when you hold your beams. Where does beams come from? Beams.
I don't know.
But, well, let's go down the route. So I think we covered most of the stuff I wanted to cover with Gala Music. I know there was another. It was smooth. Let's just put it that way. It was way smoother than I thought it was going to go. I know that now that they're hosting music, talking with Anthony, he might be able to track if your nodes are being hosted or being. Because I think you're going to have other people allowed to put their tracks on your node. I don't know how that works.
I know. Is it like some sort of like rental program where then you get a percentage of the earned beams from that track for hosting it?
I think it said 50-50 is what it said. So host your tracks, boost my capacity so you can player no capacity by adding more slots. Got that. See how your tracks are performing to make the most of your music, spot trends, your catalog, optimize your plays. I want you to buy more. Wow, that one's 7,800. We found Earth. It must be a really good one. So if I click on a node, let's go with one that doesn't have any tracks on it. Let's go here. This one's empty. So can I open this up for? Oh no. So can I open this up? Host tracks, community hosting. There we go. So I have it clicked on for community hosting right now. Why does it keep bringing me to the 10 of 10? I want the. unless I have. Oh, that's interesting. I have community hosting on my nodes right now because I don't have them full. But if you look now, they're all full.
Oh, so it's already live.
So it's already live. People are already hosting on my stuff. That's
Oh,
freaking fantastic. Love it.
yeah,
So I have
that's
extra nodes. People are hosting on them. You share 50-50 in their earned revenue. That's great.
So
Okay.
what are do we know what
And I
I
can
guess we don't
see
because it just launched and this is something we're going to need to track, but do we have, any idea on how many beams you earn a listen or?
we don't know any of that, dude. None of it. And here's the part. So this is supposed to be Web3, right? This should all be on chain.
Yeah.
But we don't have. This is the problem that we get into with when we look at Geary Chain with spider tanks and all that kind of stuff. Is we don't have any info from people on any of this stuff. Of you're supposed to be to see all your spider tanks, right? If they're being used, you're supposed to see, the upgrades is all going to be tracked on chain, but we don't have the block explorer to be
Yeah.
able to look at all this stuff. So
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest, I think, oversights that they're missing right now is there's no ability for people to, you can't check and see if they're doing what they said they're going to do.
so Unleashed Reality podcast. It says if anyone in the U.S. interacts with their platforms, they are subject to SEC jurisdiction, even if home base is Switzerland. And that's 100% right. If anybody, just because you move your company offshore, if you still interact with the U.S., you're still subject to U.S. laws, right? So I think they're just trying to do what they can to at least cover some bases if they have to. They make it harder for the SEC to kind of go after you, but
Yeah.
they still can.
We're seeing other companies do that too. Like, Miria they're really limited to what you can do like as a US resident compared to a non-US resident because they're like, hey, we don't want to be caught in all the regulatory mess that's coming with the US right now.
Yeah. And that's, you see that with Miria, and we'll jump into that next. I think we're kind of done with music.
Yeah, it'll definitely be something we want to probably touch on again next week once we're able to get more of an understanding of what the earnings look like, how the community hosting works, what the ability to stream as a non-track owner is. That's going to be important.
For sure. Definitely is. Definitely going to be important. So, well, let's see. So you mentioned Miria and the US stuff, and that's one of the things we've been following closely because they're supposed to go live with their node distribution, their token drop
on the 4th.
On the 4th.
Yep.
So everybody thought that it was going to be the same way as. Let me pull Miria up on here. I don't even know what their website is.
I think it's just Miria.com or Miria.
I'll look. I'll find it. But the thing about Miria is so many questions. Yeah, Miria.com. So when they came out, they were a copy pasta of Gala, right?
100% clone.
Everybody knew. No, thank you. Everybody knew that they were right away. Like, they had the same amount of token distribution, even though they lowered it now. They lowered it to 40 billion, and it was going to be the same token as Gala's 50 billion. They're going to have the same amount of nodes, even though they changed that now. Everything was going to be the same. It was much like Playable.
The first game they had
we're going to do the same thing. Yeah, first game that they had was, what is it, Moonville?
Moonville, which is basically Town Star on the moon.
Right. So they did that. They've changed it. Here's Moonville. So they changed it up as they've gone through. So it's not as copy pasta. And the thing that I've found out, so I assumed as we got closer and closer that the nodes were going to do the same thing, but they're not actually. They're actually not distributing the token because of the node ecosystem or the nodes themselves. It's not driven by that. From what I am understanding and what I'm reading is the nodes are just getting a distribution from the token themselves. So I think the company itself is distributing the token to the nodes. So the whole distribution.
There's no work step.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the big things. I'm going to pull this up. I think I posted it in the general chat. I gotta find it, but I want to pull up the roadmap or their whole
yeah.
the white paper. White paper
Yep.
shows a bunch of stuff. So go ahead and talk about it because I'm not gonna be able to focus until I find it. So
Well, yeah, I mean, so just so everyone knows, so just recently, um, did you find it?
nope, I'll get it up there when I see it.
I just DM'd it to you.
Okay,
Um,
okay, good.
so, I mean, just recently they announced that they were going to do a massive token airdrop of like $20,000 in USD worth of Myria tokens, basically to people who were shilling Myria. You could basically join one of these campaigns, and within that, if you're liking and retweeting their tweets, if you're tagging them on social media, if you're messaging in the Discord, all these things could earn you points that you could then enter into the airdrop, so you could get some distribution. But um, it was pretty limited on what countries you're able to do it in. For instance, like if you're in the US or Canada, you cannot participate in that airdrop. A couple other countries over in Europe and stuff like that. So one of my big questions with it is, okay, what's the value of that token going to be pegged at? They haven't said anything about a starting token price, especially since they're now just going to be selling this token.
They're selling it and they're releasing it. And the only way you can get it is yeah. So Jay Soto, Myria is offering a whole boatload of Web3 games.
It's a company.
I'll pull up the games here next after I get the white paper up, but it's another company like Gala. So they're hosting games. They're running it on a layer 2 instead of their own layer 1 off of the ETH network. They have a lot of great buzzwords that they like to use. So here's their supply distribution. So you got node emissions of 36%, right? Project development is 19%. Ecosystem fund is 40%. Now here's the thing. They're giving these nice little names in here: strategic reserve, TG&E liquidity provisions. And again, they're a company like Gala, so they don't have to give any of this information, and they don't. What is project development? What does that include?
Who knows?
What does that mean? What are they going to do for this project development? Are they going to help these games go forward? Well, how's that going to work? Right? What is the ecosystem fund? What the hell does that mean? Is that to help other people that are going to come in? Is that to pay
payroll?
Web3 producers? Is that what of that is payroll? So none of this is known, right? And so, and you can see here, so it says 50 billion here. It is 50 billion. Where did I see 40 billion again?
I thought I saw that too.
Right? These are red flags, by the way. Everybody that's listening to this, these are red flags that should show you that a company, when they're not giving you correct information, or you're seeing multiple things that are counterintuitive, or they're saying or they're deflecting, or they're saying that it's just wrong, two different answers, 40 billion or 50 billion.
Yeah.
So what is a project development? So again, if you're getting into a company, if you're gonna buy this token because you want to be a part of that company, you don't own this company, right? You're just buying the token hoping it's going to go up. So great. What is that going to, why do you think it's going to go up? Because it's part of the Web3 gaming ecosystem? Great. I like that too. But what are they going to do for it, right? What does project development mean? What does ecosystem fund mean? I know they've done a couple podcasts, and those podcasts literally were scripted. You can go to Jake with On-Chain Gaming. He did one with him, and it was the most scripted thing you've ever seen. It was ridiculous. Like none of the node questions were answered. They had no clue about what was going on. It was horrible. I've been trying to talk to these people. I've been, I think, blacklisted because I was a big Gala, Gala whale from a long time, and I just don't think they wanted to talk to me at all. But they have.
We've tried contacting them and connecting with them in so many different avenues, just trying to better the community.
I was like, look, we've got Nerd Node. We already have people that are asking us to host their nodes, their Myria nodes that they've already purchased in the pre-sale.
Yeah.
We just at Nerd Node, like, hey, we want to be able to help them out, right, and help you out. Like we're a a full suite, like we do all the work. Everybody knows Nerd Node
doesn't cost Myria anything.
Doesn't cost Myria anything. They're like, oh, we already have partners with this. We don't want to talk to you. It's like, okay.
Who?
They wouldn't say. They wouldn't say who the partners were, anything like that. I'm like, well, we're still gonna run them. Like
probably Vulture or something, right? Where you just do it yourself anyways.
Yeah, and I guarantee, because that's the first time I talked to him. They're like, oh, well, you're just another virtual server. And I'm like, no, we're not just another virtual server. And they couldn't get it through their head. They're very closed off. They don't talk. I even went through Nansen to try and get a hold of these guys because that's where I first heard about it. And they shut Nansen down same way. They're like, nope, nothing. I'm like, okay. Anyways, so here's their emission schedule. You can see here. So the TG&E liquidity provisions is pretty flat. I think that's the strategic reserve is pretty flat. Project development kicks off. What is that? 6 months? 8 months?
Yeah,
looks like
I think 6 months.
It starts to kick off at 6 months, and then the ecosystem fund kicks off right away, right? And then we have node emissions kick off right away.
I'm assuming that's where that $20,000 in airdrop is going to come from, is the ecosystem fund. But that's also, they haven't talked about it. They haven't mentioned, like, how many tokens is that going to be?
Here's something interesting for you. See this little bump here?
Yep.
See this little bump here and here?
Right at the 6 month mark.
Right when the project development starts up. I would venture to guess that there is a big unlock in the token, and you're going to see like founders and stuff like that are going to have an unlock.
Well, look at project development. 6 months cliff, linearly unlocked. Oh, wait. No, I was looking at the wrong thing. I thought I saw something about for the... Yeah, because that's one other thing they haven't mentioned is what is the Myria team... Like, is that part of the ecosystem fund? Is that part of the...
Go to their Discord. You've been there. Oh. You've been there. It is literally... They just announced today, they tweeted out. They're like, oh, guess what? We just passed 200,000 members in our Discord. And I'm like, I would love to know the ratio of actual people to bots. Because you go in there, they literally say, good morning to the moon, GM to the moon.
These are the last 6 messages in the general chat. Myria, nice project. Hi, I love Myria. Good morning. I love fruits to the moon. Like that, it's just so stupid. And I remember like when we were, because we were able to get into the whitelist node sale last year, basically, and the process of doing that was I was just sitting in their Discord 6 hours a day, messaging every 10 seconds so I could level up to level 8 or whatever and get whitelisted. And it was, and because they've gone that route and they continue to go that route in terms of like their airdrop stuff, like they just
same thing.
They are pushing people to shill as hard as they can. I'm like, that is just such the wrong way to grow a valuable community, because people like me who actually want to learn can't go into the general chat at all. It's a pure mess. I'll go into like the ask us anything chats or, the engineers hub, because I have that role, and I ask questions and I'll have like 4 other people be like, oh yeah, that's a really good question. And I never get an answer back. Or I do get just, oh, wait for the announcement.
Yeah. I went into the node channel. I got some answers.
Okay, that's good.
But I had to filter through because it would be, 17 bots and then an answer and then another 17 bots and then an answer. So, and to answer your question, Jay Soto, is the communication that they give is horrible. It's like Gala communicates. I mean, you got Brink, whether you think he's truthful or not, or whatever, he's in there talking to the community every single day almost. He's always there. You get other greens that are in there. You have tons of help like that are for Gala, like your reds that are in the Discord, giving as much of the answers that they can. They're always there answering questions. Myria doesn't say shit. No. Like there's no... I couldn't even tell you who in their Discord is like an actual official person. I've looked them up. I've researched the people that are there. I've tried to get a hold of them through
LinkedIn, email,
everything else. They literally are shut off and will not talk. They're horrible. They're the worst. So, and this is the big one here. So legal disclaimers, basically to any U.S. person, basically if you're in the United States, you can't be a part of any of their airdrops or anything along those lines. They're basically saying, the U.S. is screwed in that sense. So,
yet their entire team is made up of U.S. residents.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
I'm going to share the Myria site again.
I think one thing that's interesting to note is, earlier this week or end of last week, they announced that on the 4th, they're going to be listing their token on the OKX exchange. And then hours later, the public node sale is going to be going. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the white paper, they don't talk about selling the token on OKX within their token breakdown. I don't know. And it's, when my first thought with something like that is, okay, are they using this as an opportunity to art? They know people are going to want the nodes, and the nodes are only going to be purchasable in Miria. Are they just trying to pump the token and sell to a degree? Like, is that what the founders are going to be doing?
Look, that when I saw that little bump in their little distribution thing, I'm like, okay, I'm afraid this is purely a pump it up. Now, they've put a bunch into these games. There's been playtests. There's actual games. You can play Moonville. Meta Rush seems like it's really close to being a playable game. So first off, I've said this in another podcast before: is stop calling it meta anything or blockchain anything.
It's
freaking just name it
Block
a game.
Royale, Metacart. Just name it anything else.
Yeah. Now, this was the game that we were pretty stoked about when you look at
it's interesting.
what it could be. And really, I don't even know. I don't even know how to play cricket. I know you have this big paddle that you usually smack, your kid with. And just kidding, I don't smack my kid. So you hit a ball with a paddle, or it looks like croquet because there's like a little stick that you have to hit the ball with, and they run around the bases like they're trying to play baseball. But it's the most bet on sport in the world.
Second most bet on sport in the world behind soccer.
Yeah.
And it's the second most watched sport in the world behind soccer. And
so it's pretty big if you can get a game in this.
That's just us as Americans being like, it's not our sport.
Exactly.
But I mean, you go to Australia, India, UK. I mean, it's
okay. Here's how bad this is. Miria. This has a game. There has a name, right? He has a name. What's his name?
AB de Villiers.
AB de Villiers. They just say cricket.
And the game's called Mr. 360 Cricket. Like, that's already been announced.
So put that on your fucking site. Like, give me a fucking break. Like,
they released.
Listening to this, I apologize if I swore, but man, this crap really chaps my hide, dude. And
it's just so simple. It's like, if they can't do the little things right, I mean, how do you expect them to make do on massive promises they've made?
Yeah. So I'm just scrolling down the list of these games. So it's the ecosystem developer. So this was part of that. I don't know if these guys are getting paid to put this onto their platform, if it's an actual game. Like,
so I think part of the reason, one of the
here's a developer for TA Burn.
So they offer. I think the reason we're seeing a lot of people and a lot of games come to Miria, because I mean, there's hundreds of games listed on Miria right now. Granted, like, one of them's playable, but there's a ton of games listed. And I think part of the reason for that is because, like, one of the big things they have said is, we want to provide all the developer SDKs, like all of the developer tools that will help people make these games. So I wonder if part of that is some sort of false promise to get these people to commit to building on Miria, so they can then put it on their platform and show it, whether it's going to come and be playable or not. I think that's a big part of the reason we're seeing so many games. But it's like, a lot of these games look like shit.
I can't say that they do, because there's no real thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. There's very little out.
COVID. Cryptovid 19. It's the game. It's great. We got 8 masters. Obviously, you want to catch the Bored Ape Yacht Club move. Again, I'm just scrolling. You can see the little scroll bar. I'm halfway through. Crypto guns. This is insane. They got a crap ton of games.
A shit ton.
So whether they come to fruition or not, okay. I'm very I don't like how they're doing this. I don't at all. It looks like their communication sucks. Their rollouts suck. They are hindered by US laws, just like everybody else is, and they're doing a horrible job of trying to, circumvent around that. I don't like 90% of the stuff that they're doing.
Well, one of the biggest things that I was just, going through their Discord looking at, that announcement they made about, like, the big like OKX announcement and stuff, like, that's not there anymore. Like, they delete stuff from their announcements because people will question what they put out. I'm not seeing.
Really? They took it down? I mean, that's just like another.
All I'm seeing is on 313. I'm seeing the Miria token airdrop information, which was that Medium article that just is like, oh, if you're in the US, you can't participate, basically.
Right.
But there was that big announcement released just days ago that we were all talking about. where they went into like the OKX and all that stuff, and that's not in their announcements anymore.
Man, yeah.
Granted, I still have all that information written down, so I mean, we know that it was said.
This is interesting. So this right here, these guys approached us and they were posting some of your some of the Medium articles.
Who?
These guys. This is a long time ago when we were first putting the shit out.
Oh.
They wanted to repost some of the stuff that we were throwing out there. And I said, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Oh shit.
I know one of the guys that a guy that knows the guy that started this. They're up out of Washington, I think. But regardless, there's a boatload of shit on here. So my here's my 2 cents. I own 3 nodes. Am I going to buy more nodes? Probably not. With a caveat. The node distribution starts soon after the token release goes, and you can only buy the nodes in the Myria token. Regardless if this is a scam or not, I will potentially look at flipping the token if somehow I can get it at a decent price, depending on what happens. But in all reality, like, I'm not a long-term believer in this at all. So, and if you're looking into this, just do your own research on like who they are and how they're operating. I'm not a fan of it at all. At all.
It was something I was really excited about when I first got into it, like a year ago, little over a year ago.
Sure.
First dove in, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, you know, compared to Gala, like we can see that they're wanting to make these changes that people in the Gala community are. And then I think one of the most frustrating parts for me is, okay, if you're going to copy someone, learn from their mistakes. Don't do the same mistakes they just did. And that's exactly what they're doing. I'm like, okay, you're copying them in every aspect, like the bad ways too. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. No, it's been pretty rough, man. I was look, when they first came out, I heard it through Nansen. And I was going to be able to purchase nodes at pre-sale, right? That was the first before the actual
the private sale.
It's private sale. When I saw it, I was like, this is just so like copy pasta of Gala. I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, and then I realized I was too late anyway to get my little foreman. But so I contacted him. I was like, hey, you know, I was going to put some money in and buy some of them. I was like, you know, might as well just kind of hedge some stuff. So I contacted him and said, hey, I'm looking to purchase some, you know, XYZ. Nope, nothing. Like they literally just cut me off. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. We got a few from the as they did the little go be a bot in their Discord, and so you can go that route. So we got a few that way. So I'll probably just kind of hang in the wings and see how they go. Now, on the reverse side, right? So that's the negative because they come off very negative and very scammy. Maybe all they're doing, the reason they're doing this and they're so quiet is because of all the regulations and they're trying to wait for things to kind of play out. I don't think that's the way this is going, but let's just say maybe it is. And maybe half these games do come out, right? So that's a lot of games.
I mean, then you're gearing yourself as kind of like, you know, when I think back at my, you know, when I first started playing online, like browser-based games and stuff like that, which it seems like some of these are going to be, you know, it was the addicting games. It was miniclip.com. It was, you know, cool math games, you know, and it was basically just a hub of a repository full of games across multiple genres. And so you stayed in one place to play whatever you wanted to do. So, I mean, if they are able to hit that right and release, if they have 100 games out there, they'll garner a good amount of players just from people testing them all out.
But where? From where? There's only 150 of us in Web3 right now anyway. So they release 100 games. I can't play that many games. It's already that way with Gala. I haven't been able to play The Walking Dead, mainly because I've been on vacation, but I love The Walking Dead. I loved it. I've only been able to get into it a little bit and play. And I'm not the only one. There's only so many players right now, and they have zero, when you look at zero talk about how they're going to bring in Web 2 to Web 3. And I guarantee you they're going to be worse off than most of these other games because guess what? They're called Meta Rush and Metacart and Block Royale and Cryptovid.
Moonville. Like even that, I mean, it's just like the traditional gamers do not like the buzzword NFTs,
Yep.
stuff like that.
You gotta
Like, I
just have
mean,
a game. Just have a damn
yeah.
game that people play like fucking normal. They download it, they go to whatever, game client that you have, they download it, they play it, and that's it. Done. Then if they want to go on to the next level and own their content, own their assets, great. Give them that option.
Mhm.
That's why I'm not super bullish on Miria. They could blow up, and I'll probably miss the boat on that one. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I just don't like a lot of the stuff that they're putting out there and the way they communicate. So
Mhm.
if they come out and change some things, I will change my tune
Mhm.
and I will say I was wrong. But as
Mhm.
of right now, it looks like shit.
Yep.
So, well, we've talked enough crap about them. What else are we gonna talk about today, Blake? Overall markets? Like, what the hell? Bitcoin's
Yeah.
pumping. Bitcoin's pumping.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things. There's just so much ambiguity about what's going to happen with the dollar.
Well, let me do this real quick. I'm gonna put out a quick warning. And this is specifically for you, Titan, because I know you're listening. There's charts coming.
And it's not investment advice.
None of this is investment.
None of this is investment advice.
But there's charts coming, so be wary. Be wary. That was your warning. So hopefully we'll see you another time and you don't disown us. But no, so Bitcoin, we had a nice little. Obviously, we talked about this at length. Just this massive, discrepancy in price and in the the Ichimoku cloud and volume and everything else like that, and where we were thinking. We've been talking about this 30K mark for a while, hitting in the first quarter to beginning of second quarter, and it looks like that's where we're going to be at. It still looks in that same zone. That's still my same play. That's still what I'm doing personally with the assets that I'm in. The dollar, like you said, the dollar, it's really coming down to. Well, let me back up a bit. We've had let's go back to November. Let's go back to, because I think that was when, isn't that when we had this right here? Yeah, FTX was, November. So we've had some of the worst news that we've ever had, like in crypto that I can remember. When you look at like the amount of scams that came through with Terra Luna, the amount of money lost, and you look at 3 Arrows Capital, and we move into this, kind of downward trend, and then we have FTX was monstrous, and then within a couple of weeks, we literally retraced that. We have, SEC coming hard at everything crypto. We have the dollar in the US because everything's affected if we're in the US, like with everything that's going on in the macroeconomic system. It affects crypto, right? You have the banks going out, right? Which is a whole conspiracy topic that Jake and I will talk about on a podcast that was specifically crypto oriented. When you look at the banks that went down and went under, right? And the fact that they can be sold, they can be bought by somebody, but guess what? You can't do. You can't actually service any crypto industry. Literally, they said that. So we've had massive news come out, bad news. And then the most recent one against Binance, the CFTC lawsuit, which is just a lawsuit. It's not like we're going to take them down. It's more of a, hey, you've been doing bad things in the past. We see that. We're going to fine you. And the market, we're still literally a 2x from the bottom almost, right? So how anybody can be bearish at this point in time for crypto is hard for me to imagine. Now, I am going to evaluate everything that happens once Bitcoin hits this, this 31 to 38K mark. I'll analyze my holdings, which I do own some Bitcoin, by the way, which is the first time in a long time. It's not my number one holding, but I do own some. I'll want to see how that all reacts, how everything's kind of shaken out. So if we look in past, look at like the 2018, we had a big pump up, and then we had this consolidation mark. Take out the COVID dip, that's a random, black swan that isn't doesn't happen often. and then we kind of move up. So we could be in the same scenario here of a correction from the bottom. We get another correction from there, and then the move up, the big move up in the 2024 to 2025 time frame. So I'm still in that same boat. I'm still holding strong with my tokens that I'm holding, which I mean, I'll just tell you what I have right now. Magic, obviously, we've talked a lot about that. I'm a big Magic fan. I like what they're doing in their ecosystem. I like their DAO. They just got a huge drop into their treasury from the Arbitrum drop. They were the number one receiver of the Arbitrum drop. They were tied with somebody else, but still. Adding new games, adding new features. They have their own marketplace. We've talked about at length. I really like what they're doing. And my focus in the Web3 gaming ecosystem has gone more from the NFT side to the token side. I think that's where the upside is really going to be. So I like Magic. I have some Arbitrum from the Arbitrum airdrop. I actually bought some all the way down to 112, between 120 and 112, which we're sitting at 120 now. So that's where my holdings are at Arbitrum. And I'll probably stick that out. I own some Bitcoin, I own some ETH, and obviously I own some Gala. So that's the only place I'm sitting right now. That's a lie. I own ENS too. So, but that's kind of where I'm sitting. Just kind of waiting, like I said, for all things to kind of play out and kind of move in a direction different than the up direction. So our trend right now is up, right? From November last year till now is up. So don't buck the trend until you see something different for it to kind of invalidate that, which for me would be a break below on the weekly, a close on the weekly below the 24K. Then I would look at, okay, this trend's kind of over, but I still think we see the 30K to 30 to 40K mark. And specifically, if you want action numbers, you can see them on the screen here. So that's
what I think.
I
mean, I think, not to get too like political or anything, but I think one of the big reasons you're going to start seeing a bump in this too is, if some of these countries do start moving away from the dollar as an oil reserve currency,
which they already are.
Which they are. I mean, one thing I was looking at is, it's weird. Russia's biggest national bank has been doing well, like pretty well over the past 4 or 5 weeks. And I was just like, that's interesting that they are up. What is this?
Why are you following Russia's national bank?
well, so
what do I not know about you, Blake?
I just more interest than anything else. I was just looking at, like the ruble compared to the dollar, and okay, just how is the U.S. currency starting to fare against international currency and stuff? Level of devaluation that's coming. So it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I just saw some stuff on it on Twitter of some people talking about it, and I was like, I just want to do some of my own research. But yeah, I don't know.
No, it's always good to do your own research. I think we've already seen, what is it, China, Russia,
Saudi
Arabia doing a deal for oil, not in US dollars. Was it Kenya that came out and said that? I don't know. It was somewhere over there.
I think it was Kenya.
So we're seeing that.
It seems like there's a shift. There's going to be a shift back towards gold-backed currency.
Gold-backed? Get the fuck out of here, gold-backed.
In terms of what I bet that's what this whole SWIFT thing is going to be, gold-backed currency.
SWIFT thing? You mean the new FedNow token? The FedNow CBDC?
No, what was it? The new. Basically, I thought the SWIFT are basically going to be. They're going to offer like everything but the dollar, like interactions with like basically every other currency.
You think so? I doubt they're going to do that.
I doubt it as well. I mean, there's so much talk out in the air right now about just everything, and so I don't know. I've been trying to wrap my head around it all because I'm like, such like unprecedented territory for me specifically. Like I've just never seen anything like this, and so I don't know.
Well, here I'm gonna wrap it up with a little story, and then kind of my feeling of where we're at, because I agree with you. There's so many political and economical stuff that's coming through. The dollar itself is running its course, and it's inevitable, and something's going to happen. They cannot roll back the stuff that they've done when you start talking about inflation and the interest rates, the amount of momentum that's gone into the fact of the dollar losing its value, and not just in nominational terms, but in world terms of people not wanting the dollar. It's a cyclical event that's going to happen. It happens throughout history, and we're seeing it happen in real time right now. The thing that I was just on vacation with a really good friend of mine. He's kind of my business mentor, and completely opposite in investment style as myself. Very conservative in investment style. He's just a different person, but great business person. And I like to have that other kind of mindset. And he's really kind of kept me grounded throughout my years of owning a business, talking with him and, him mentoring me without him knowing it, essentially. We were talking about it. And he's one of the most positive people I've ever met. Not in the sense of like, he knows bad things happen, but he's always like, hey,
optimistic.
This will happen, optimistic. And so we were chatting about this, the dollar, where we're at with everything like that. And he literally said, like, it's going to end. The dollar is going to end. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we're seeing the first curtails of this kind of pushing in a direction that, and it may not be in my lifetime, might be in yours, since you're way younger than me. But
it's going to take a long time for the whole world to shift off of the dollar.
Potentially. We're in a world that moves so much faster than we used to. And we're seeing it in real time. So that's the bad side of like what can happen here. Now, this is what got me into crypto in the first place, is banking and the dollar and a lot of those things. This is why I like the ability to hold my own tokens. This is why I like not your keys, not your coins. This is why I like having that responsibility for me, that I don't have to worry about a bank that's going to go under, right? And do I still use banks? Yes. Don't get me wrong. You can't not use banks right now.
You have
and
to.
If they take off these on ramps and off ramps, there will be other ways that will come about. It's just the nature of the beast. But so yes, I still use banks, but for the majority of like my savings or my investment stuff, I hold my own tokens, right? I don't hold that's my responsibility. And with crypto itself and being your own custodial, it just shows that we have the power that the banks can't, they can't take that from us. That's what I like about it. And I think that's a positive for crypto. And I think we saw that when the banks went under, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they were crushing everything else, right? Because guess where you're going to go? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if the banks go under? And we've already seen 2 banks go under. Okay. So it's not that this can't happen here in the US. So get your head out of the sand and look at the fact that this actually can happen, and what can you do about it to make sure you and your family are safe, or your investments are safe, right? That's my little rant. I think we've gone a little over an hour. We should kind of hold it to that.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to do these weekly. I'll probably let Blake talk more. I talked way too much this time.
I like listening to you talk.
But let's get some stuff started in the Discord. Let's talk about things that everybody else wants to hear about. We'll get some more involvement. We'll get these things, these podcasts, doing some awesome stuff and some fun stuff, maybe some giveaways and things like that, just to keep people involved and have a good time.
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. All right,
guys.
Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Come on.